play you're about to see is one of 8 readings of plays in progress under the collective title Wexford Playwrights Studio, produced by the Wexford Arts Centre and supported by Wexford County Council and the Arts Council. At various stages of these works, the writers had the mentoring input of the Wexford playwright Billy Roach, the dramaturg Thomas Conway, and the playwright Deirdre Kinahan. We've now taken the latest draft of the works and given each a day of rehearsal and a half day of filming over a 2-week period with 12 actors assigned across the 8 plays. The process, though brief, has given all the writers an acute sense of what is working and not working in their plays, and a good basis for moving on to the next stage of development towards an eventual production. There are 4 female and 4 male writers of varying ages represented here, and we've been struck by the range and depth of talent on display. These plays are not yet the finished article, but I think they are a strong indication that creative writing for the stage is alive and well in Wexford and the South East. Enjoy.
Scene 1. The pub is quiet. Grania stands behind the counter wiping down the bar. She is wearing low, comfortable shoes. Front of the stage, to the right, a pub table or couple of pub tables and 3 or more comfortable chairs. Enter an elderly man, the ward Duggan.
Where's himself?
He had to go out for a while.
Grania's not usually here of an evening.
No.
Where's himself? How come Grania's here?
Ruby had to go out for a while this evening, Ward.
Grania's not usually here of an evening.
Ruby was stuck, but the children are staying with my mum tonight, so I was able to come in.
Okay, Gran, that's it then. That's all. So, I wonder would Grania be so kind as to allow me a pint?
I would.
Grania pours a pint. The ward sits on the bar stool thinking.
Gone to see someone about the old da.
Could be.
Well, that's where he is, sure enough. That's it. That's where he is. Can't be anywhere else. Gone to pay John Nolan for burying the old da. Most diligent son, has to be said.
Grania hands over the pint. The ward takes a drink.
Grant, yeah. That's where he is. Can't be anywhere else. Most diligent son. Sure, he was always visiting the old da up in the nursing home. And I suppose the same Sil didn't know him from Adam.
I wouldn't know.
Would you not know? Would you not know? Grania keeps her cards very close to her chest, the ward is thinking.
I surely don't. Ruby will tell you himself where he was when he comes in. Now, are you all right there for a few minutes while I check inside?
I am.
Grania leaves. The ward sits looking thoughtfully. Grania returns.
Who's in there?
Nobody yet, but they'll be in to play darts now in a while.
Usual shower, I suppose. Seen him up around the churchyard earlier.
Who?
Ruby, who do you think?
Did you?
Yeah, up around the churchyard he was, perambulating in a fine manner. Thought he was visiting Sil's grave at first.
He probably was.
No, faith, he wasn't. He wasn't in the right part of the graveyard when I seen him.
Sherlock Holmes better watch his back.
Then it struck me. Eileen's anniversary. That's it. Up at the Whyte's grave he was. God almighty. It drove me mad all afternoon.
You have way too much time on your hands, if you don't mind me saying.
Yes, I do. And no, I don't. Lovely woman. God bless her. Beautiful. Yeah. A real beauty. Grand all there.
So I believe.
Do you not remember her?
No, not really.
That a fact. I suppose Grania was too young to remember Eileen. There's 2 left feet, mind you. But not to speak ill of the dead now or anything. Grand woman all the same.
Well, sure, aren't we all odd in our own way?
True. Grania's right there. But there's odds and there's odd. Though God forbid we'd speak ill of the dead. And one thing's for sure, you can't beat the dead when it comes down to being good.
Well, the dead can't harm you.
No, I wouldn't be too sure about that.
Would you not? My granny used to say it's not the dead you need to be afraid of, but the living.
A lot of truth in that. But it seems to me, remembering the dead can still sometimes do more harm than good. But I suppose, Gran, you should know. Huh? I said you should know.
I should. I mean, I do.
Eileen Hughes. Lovely woman, God bless her. Queer one, though. Something lacking in her. Gravely lacking, if you want my opinion. Gran, you listen to me at all?
Yes, I'm listening. But sure, I told you I barely remember Eileen. She was a friend of my mum's. She always seemed a nice woman. Other than that, sure, it's all ancient history to me, neither here nor there.
I wouldn't go that far. Ancient history it may be, but the ward would insist that you go too far when you say that the facts of the matter are neither here nor there.
Ancient history, Ward.
Ancient history it may be, as you say, but the dead, good and all as they may be, can still surprise us.
Is that a fact?
It is. Must be 25 years since Eileen Hughes died. Or maybe 30.
More like 30. Here, read your paper.
30. Time nor tide waits for no man. Lovely woman, Lord have mercy on her. A horrible way to go.
Yes, I suppose it was.
No supposing about it. A most horrible way to go, burning to death like that.
Yes, you're right. No doubt about it. Horrible. Would you like?
Of course, there was some said she'd done it herself. Can you imagine that?
No, I can't. I don't know why people start rumours like that. I'm sure it was an accident, stray spark from the fire.
Well, there's no smoke without fire, so they say. And there were other rumours too, other theories to dwell on, darker theories.
Can we talk about something else?
Oh, Granya's getting a bit cross. Why's Grania getting a bit cross, may I ask?
I'm not. Just can we talk about something else?
Yes. But there was something lacking in it.
Grania looks at her watch. Enter Ruby.
Ah, here's Master Hughes now. Where's Ruby been all evening?
Had a bit of business to settle with John Nolan.
The Undertaker, I knew it. I told Grania that. You took your time. I was starting to think you were avoiding me or something.
Not at all.
Poor old Sil, the Lord have mercy on him.
Yeah, indeed.
Tell us, Ruby, have you got through all that whiskey he ordered yet? Boxes and boxes of it. God be good to him. And he away with the fairies.
Long gone, Ward. Nothing for you to concern yourself with.
God, it beat all. And the vodka. I was forgetting the vodka. Maybe Sil knew something we didn't. Maybe he was anticipating the great Cold War II vodka shortage.
The lads will be in for the dart soon. It's all set up though.
And the toilet roll too. Boxes and boxes of it. You must still have a good 10-year worth of toilet roll out in the back shed.
It could be worse.
God help me. The nice man at Turner ordered a pint of Guinness and he said, would you like a slice of lemon in that? Remember, Ruby? Would you like a slice of lemon in that, says he.
Leave it, Ward.
No. The word tells a lie. What he said was, would you like a slice of lemon in that, you fucker? You could have heard a pin drop on you. We knew he was away with the fairies then, God be good to him. He was never a practitioner of foul language.
No, he wasn't.
No, a gentleman and a scholar.
He was. The cellar needs a bit of a tidy, Grania. I might go down there for a while, if you're all right here. I don't like things to get out of hand.
No problem. It's quiet enough tonight.
Brass monkey weather out there. Anyway, as long as Ruby's not avoiding me.
Now, Ward, why on earth would I want to do that?
I don't know. You're right. Why would you? And I am a most charming individual. Eileen Hughes. Eileen Hughes. A beauty for sure. Only Eileen and the child know the truth. Sure, the child nearly went up too, by all accounts, only for Sil arriving in the nick of time. He was never the same though, the young fella.
How could he be? Maybe we could talk about something else now. What do you think?
Never the same. Something severely lacking there too.
I wouldn't know.
Do you not remember him from school?
Not really. He was a few years older than me.
Was he? Older than you? Older than you? That's interesting, so it is.
Why?
Oh, just in general. No, there was a strangeness there. Not from the Hugheses. Not from Ruby's side of the family, I may add, even though his father was in Cloud Cuckoo land the last few years. No, there was always a lack in Eileen's family. The cavernous, the mild and comely ones. That's what the name Kavanagh means.
Does it?
It does. Beautiful they all were, but the mildness, the mildness was bordering on a vagueness, on other worldliness. To sum it up once for all, there was a want there.
That a fact.
Chagrin, you knows all about that, don't you? About fatherless children.
Dermot lost his mother.
And Grania's children lost their father. I wonder which is worse.
Do you know what, Ward? I think it's being so cheerful keeps you going.
It is that. But funny, you know, that Eileen married a Hughes. Ruby Hughes. It never struck the word before. Hughes means fire. Imagine that. She married fire.
Ruby comes back from the cellar and speaks to Grania at the end of the bar, furthest from the ward.
Only the ward here. When did he come in?
He was here when you came in. Or maybe you're trying to forget. I wouldn't blame you.
God, yes, sure, that's right. I don't know where my head is at the moment.
Oh, it's no wonder. You've had a lot going on lately.
I don't know whether I'm coming or going since the funeral.
I know.
Ruby didn't miss much.
Did I not?
Yeah, only 4 in.
5, playing darts inside and...
Scobie Carty don't count. Nothing but a septic cur.
A what? A septic cur? Never heard.
Septic cur. Cur as in a dirty mongrel. Grania's got wax in her wrist. Grania's up past her bedtime, getting delusional.
Take it easy.
Nothing but a nuisance, that fella.
Here, don't be annoying yourself. Have a drop before you go. Might keep out the cold, or at least keep you quiet.
Yeah, Ruby's a decent man. Cut from the same cloth as your dad. Wasn't I only saying that, Grania?
If you say so.
You know well I was. I was just after saying that Rupa here is a gentleman and a scholar. Sludge!
The ward takes a drink of whiskey, swirls it around in his mouth in imitation of fine wine, and swallows.
I'll start cashing up, will I?
What time is it? Yes, do. Please.
Grania moves away to the cash register.
The finest of malts, Ruby. Fair play to you all the same. The very finest of malts. Won't you have one yourself there? Keep me company.
No, not at all, but you enjoy yours.
Keep out the cold for you, Ruby. Poor widow man like yourself could be doing with something to keep out the cold, same as myself and think.
No thanks.
Today of all days.
Sorry?
Eileen's anniversary. The Lord have mercy on her. A fine, fine woman.
Grania, I said don't worry about that. I'll count it in the morning. You've done enough for tonight.
Okay, all right, if you're sure. Oakley dokley.
Grania comes back down the counter with the cash register tray.
I'll just put this in the safe as it is then, will I?
Yeah, lovely. Grand. Not a whole ton in it anyway.
Grania walks behind Ruby. The ward's eyes follow her.
Up past her bedtime, eh? I tell you, that's a fine bit of stuff, eh? That'll warm the ward up.
What are you on about now?
The young widow woman, her. That'd be something to warm you up fairly quickly of a night, eh?
Will you behave? You're losing the run of yourself.
I wouldn't mind losing the run of myself with that. I wouldn't mind rooting around in her cellar.
Stop it.
I'm only fooling. Can you not take a joke? So she wouldn't look at a couple of old fellas like us. We'd say she's a goer, though for all the butter wouldn't look of her. Sure, we wouldn't be able to handle the likes of that and all. But I'm telling you, If I was 30 years younger, they'd be queer manoeuvres.
Right, that's it. Go on, off with you now. Off with you out of that.
God almighty, keep your shirt on. The ward was only said, I'll go on gladly. The ward knows when he's not welcomed.
If only that were true.
Yes, never let it be said that the ward Duggan overstayed his welcome. I shall be off, Rupert.
Goodbye.
Goodbye. See you tomorrow.
Yeah. Worse luck.
Ruby attacks some glasses angrily with a cloth. Grania comes back and stands behind him.
Whatever those glasses did to you, I hope I never do it.
What? Just the ward.
Don't mind him.
I know. I'm worse to let him get to me. Your head must be done in listening to him all night.
I just let it go over me mostly.
All that stuff about me father. Dad losing his mind and the lot of them gathered here, like an audience in the front row every night, laughing behind our backs the more peculiar he got. And then, he has no boundaries, God damn him!
Ruby, will you calm down? He's harmless.
Yeah, I wouldn't be too sure about that. You don't know him like I do. He's a right stir the shit when he gets the chance.
He's not the worst.
Well, he was way out of line tonight. And all that shite. Oh, sorry, Grania. But all that about visiting me father, not one of them, for all their talk, ever went to see him. But you're right. I should just ignore him.
You should, but I know. Easier said than done.
You don't know why I'm giving out. I wouldn't have wanted any of them visiting him. It would only have been embarrassing for everyone if they had. I couldn't have stood them all talking about him.
I'm sorry, it's tough.
It'll all be the same in 100 years.
Grania thinks Ruby is getting very philosophical.
Ruby is. Grania doesn't know the half of it.
Grania puts her arms around Ruby from behind. He relaxes, pulls her around towards him until they're facing each other, side on to the audience. She lays her head on his shoulder.
Grania thinks Ruby should try not to let the word get to him.
Ruby thinks that we should stop talking like this because it's starting to give Ruby the creeps.
Grania agrees.
You're tired.
A bit.
Up past your bedtime. Go sit down. I'll bring you over a drink.
Okay, thanks.
Grania moves away, walks towards the chairs, sits down.
What will you have? Sorry.
It's okay. I'll just have a cup of tea.
All right then. Tea for two. Coming up.
Use the decaf. It's in at the back.
It's not the same.
Your choice. But you'll be the one moaning tomorrow about how the tea kept you awake all night.
I hate it when you're right.
I'll have the decaf too. There's no difference, you know.
Now you know you're not right.
Could you put on one of your dad's old records? The Frank Sinatra one I like, if it's handy.
Ruby moves around behind the bar. Something like, I've got you under my skin comes on. Grania kicks off her shoes, leans back in the chair and closes her eyes. Ruby comes over and goes to sit down.
God, the tea. I'd forget me head if it wasn't screwed on.
Grania smiles. Ruby comes back with the teas and sits down. Takes her feet onto his lap and starts to rub them.
God, that's lovely. I'll keep you for that alone.
Will you now?
I will. Thank you.
You very nice feet. Well, not that I've a weird thing for feet now or anything.
Would you go away out of that?
Grania opens her eyes and looks at her feet.
You know what? You're right. They're not bad at all as feet go. Dad was always fussy about us having shoes that fitted us properly, and I've never been able to get the hang of high heels.
He was dead right. If I'd had a daughter, I'd have done the same. Well, I didn't, of course, but...
Grania sits back up properly, takes her feet away and puts them on the ground.
I hate to bring up the ward again, but you were spotted up in the cemetery earlier.
Oh, sure, I know.
I didn't say anything, but he remembered anyway.
Like an elephant, that fella.
So, how are you?
It's been a long time, Grania.
I know, but that doesn't mean you're okay.
I'll survive.
Ruby, if you're upset, you can tell me.
I'm grand, really. But I'm glad you arranged to stay over tonight.
It was no problem. Mum loves to have them. I'm glad to be here. We really haven't had a chance to see each other properly since the funeral.
Ruby doesn't know what he's done to deserve you.
Grania does not want to start all that again.
Grania laughs and gets up, sits on Ruby's lap. There is silence for a few beats.
Still, you can't help but look back a bit on a day like today. And then what with me father and all, it kind of stirs things up.
Of course it does.
We weren't like you and Stephen. Things between myself and Eileen were often difficult.
I don't know if that makes it any easier. Maybe harder, if anything.
Maybe. Anyway, I've no one to blame but myself.
Ruby moves to stand up. They both do. Ruby starts taking up the cups of tea to head back to the counter. He turns off the music.
You shouldn't say that. Everybody knows Eileen suffered.
Postnatal, bipolar, interstellar, whatever it was.
Whatever it wasn't your fault.
But still and all, I made a great show of pretending to be understanding when really, inside, I was angry with her a lot of the time. Seemed to me she was ruining our lives, especially Dermot's.
I'd say that's a fairly natural reaction.
To be honest, Grania, I wished her gone, you know? Even wished her dead sometimes.
Grania goes over, gives him a hug.
And then to do what she did, Grania. To do that.
I know.
In front of the child. In front of Dermot.
It was an accident. A spark from the fire.
Was it?
It was.
I've never been sure. I've never been sure of what happened. I sometimes wondered. Never mind.
She wouldn't have done that. Never. Not in front of Dermot. You know she wouldn't. Why would she when there would have been far easier ways if that was what she intended?
That's what I've often thought myself.
Come on, sit back down for a while.
They sit back down in their own chairs. Silence for a few beats. There's a loud bang. Grania jumps.
What was that?
I must have forgot to lock the door after the ward. It's getting a bit wild out there now. The wind must have blown it open.
It frightened the life out of me.
It gave me a bit of a start too, but that's all it was.
Was there any word from Dermot today?
No, not a dicky bird. Traipsing round Highland at his age. I don't know.
I'm sure he's fine. It's just such a pity he missed your dad's funeral.
It is, or maybe he got my message and just didn't come anyway.
I doubt that, Ruby. He'll email or text when he's somewhere with Wi-Fi.
I wouldn't count on it.
I'm sure he will.
All I want is for him to be happy.
I know.
And I'd like if he's settled to something. I don't mind what it is. He thinks I just want him to come back and take over here.
Do you?
Maybe. I don't know. And I don't understand why he'd rather be a kitchen porter in Camden or stacking shelves in Croydon when he could be his own boss here. I think I'd be fine about it if he was happy, but the few times I've managed to talk to him, I don't feel that he is.
He's restless.
He's heading for 40. That's what he is.
Well then, he is what he is. It's hard to see how you'd change anything at this point.
No, and that's the worst of it. Sometimes I think I wasn't much of a father to him.
Oh, you're being very hard on yourself as usual. People around here wouldn't agree with that.
Oh, to all appearances I did all the right things, ticked all the right boxes, but I don't know. It was like after Eileen died, we all retreated to our own corners, me dad and Dermot. It became like a wall or a barrier between us. We never discussed it.
But your dad was the one who found her. Surely you talked to him about it.
Dad made it clear he didn't want to. I should have made him for Dermot's sake. But it's too late now.
So you never really spoke to Dermot either?
No. I might have tried once or twice in a kind of a half-hearted way. I mean, he was there. He saw it. The only witness. What that must have done to the child.
I know. It doesn't bear thinking about.
The damage it must have done. Dad said it was better to leave it, that Dermot would forget. I knew that wasn't right in my gut. But I did what he said. I did it because it was the easy way out. I did it, to be honest, because I don't know if I really wanted to know.
You can't change things now, Ruby. It looks like you'll have to content yourself with the notion that you'll probably never really know the truth of what happened.
The truth? I never wanted the truth. Sometimes the truth is the last thing you want. But it was no wonder Dermot went off the rails.
That was years ago, though. He was young and foolish then.
Yeah, not so young, but still plenty foolish. You know what? I don't even know if that's true. I don't know anything about him anymore. I don't know if I ever did. And at this stage, he's been away longer than he was ever here.
Funny how it goes, isn't it? I look at my lads now and I can't believe one day they'll be all grown up and gone.
It passes in the twinkling of an eye, love. And I wasn't there for Dermot when I should have been. After Eileen died, there was a distance there. Sorry, I've lost my train of thought.
You were saying about Dermot, the distance between you.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I don't know, it grew between us and I shouldn't have let it. I should have done things differently. But that distance kept growing until one day he was gone. I knew nothing of the boy, and now I know nothing of the man.
It's not too late. Get in touch with him. Ask him to come home or ask him, can you go visit him? Maybe he's only waiting for you to ask.
But I have, Grania, I have asked.
Ask again. Keep asking. You have to keep trying.
I don't know.
I do. Ask again and keep asking.
I hope you don't mind, but I was wondering, is it strange not having a grave to visit? I went to Forlorn Point this evening. I don't know why.
Did you? There's something about that place, isn't there? I always feel I can think there. No, I don't find it strange. It was a place we liked to go when he was alive. Stephen asked me to marry him there.
So it was the beginning and the end.
Yes, you could say that. I go there and I stand and I look out to sea and it's good. Sometimes, and you'll think I'm daft, but sometimes I talk to him.
I don't think that's daft. I was thinking I wouldn't mind being cremated and having my ashes scattered there.
What about Eileen? Surely you'd want to...
I don't know. But I like the idea of it. The idea of doing something unexpected for once, you know. Something I want.
Seems a bit of a shame to wait till you're dead to go about doing something for yourself.
Maybe.
Well, actually, now that we're talking, there's something I've been wanting to say.
Oh?
Yeah, God, nothing bad. No, nothing bad. At least I hope not. What I wanted to say was, I think you're okay. I mean, with us, aren't you? You're happy with us.
I am. Of course I am.
What I wanted to say, well, Stephen's been dead for 5 years now.
The Lord have mercy on him.
God, I can never get over how sweet it is the way you always say that. The Lord have mercy on him.
Force of habit.
No, it's lovely. It's just that I was down at Forlorn Point a couple of days ago. Tuesday, it was wild, cold.
Forlorn, maybe?
Yes, and gorgeous. Just the way Stephen loved it the most. The sea on 3 sides of me was deep green and angry.
Grania, you need to be careful out there. They'd be dead easy to fall in.
No, it wasn't that wild. Just choppy little waves all around, crested in white foam, you know the kind. I was just standing there, I don't know, breathing it all in and remembering Stephen, how he was, how he used to be. The Lord have mercy on him. And standing there, the wind bashing me and the waves crashing.
Grania.
Okay, it might have been a bit wild, but I felt so alive and, well, I suddenly knew.
Knew what?
I wanted you there with me. Or not just there, but everywhere, anywhere, standing with me. I thought of you standing there by yourself at your father's funeral, and I know you knew I was there for you in the crowd, but I felt it was all wrong. It's time for me to move on. I'd like to tell people about us.
Really?
Do you want to? If it's still what you want, I'm ready.
Let's just take another couple of weeks to ourselves.
Oh, well, yeah, of course.
I'd like to leave it a little while now that Syl has died.
Okay, whatever you want. And Ruby, just to say, you make me very happy.
God, it's the other way around, if anything.
No, it's not. It's really not. I never thought I'd feel this way about anyone again. And Ruby, what you said about your dad, about everyone laughing,
Yes?
that wasn't true. Most people weren't laughing.
I wish I could believe that.
You can. There are plenty of people around here that loved your dad. And there are plenty of people around here that love you.
Thanks, Grania.
And I love you.
Lights down. Scene 2. The bar. Morning. A couple of weeks later. Grania comes in, Ruby behind the bar.
You don't look well.
I didn't sleep much.
You'll have to keep off the tea late at night. Were you out already this morning?
No.
The door was open there, the front door. When I went to sweep the hall, it wasn't locked.
Really? The front door?
Yes,
I'm sure I locked it last night.
it was open. Anyone could have come in. I locked it for the moment.
Look, forget about the door, Grania. I want to talk to you.
Yeah, we need to discuss a few things. I was thinking, I'll tell the children first. Tomorrow's Friday, so after school.
Look, this is all... I don't know.
Loud banging on the door of the pub makes them jump.
The ward is wondering are you open today or what?
God almighty, can that fucking nuisance not give us a minute's peace?
Grania leaves the stage to let the ward in. He follows in behind her.
God bless all here. Lovely day out there.
Crisp.
Fresh.
The ward believes that if it was a lettuce, it'd be one of them iceberg lettuces, eh?
What can I get you?
I wonder could Ruby see his way to getting me a pint, if Ruby would be so kind.
Coming up.
Well, how are we all today?
Great.
Okay.
The ward sits up on a high stool. Grania goes over to the table and chairs and starts cleaning the table.
Would Ruby have such a thing as the paper? Person could get very easily tempted to take his custom elsewhere at this rate.
Here.
Ruby takes a newspaper from under the counter. The ward makes a big display of opening it and shaking it out flat.
Now, let's see.
I've read it.
Oh, listen here. Ruby might be interested in this.
I've seen it already.
It says here, bank officials today confirmed. Bank officials. Ha, that's another show that's stuck together with ignorance. Where was he? Oh yeah. Bank officials today confirmed
There's no stopping you, is there?
that interest rates today have reached an all-time high.
Grania goes over to the ward and gives him a squeeze.
Ah, leave him alone. Let him read the paper if he wants.
Grania leaves the stage.
Be Jesus, herself's in a good mood.
Is she?
The warden says someone's tickling her fancy.
What did I tell you about talking about Grania like that?
The ward ignores him and keeps reading the paper. Ruby snatches the paper away from him.
What did Ruby tell you?
All right, keep your hair on. The ward can see you have issues regarding that young widow.
I don't have issues.
Ruby throws back the paper and goes down to the counter and starts cutting lemons with a large knife. The ward gathers up the paper again and starts to read.
Aye. Issues with the little widow women.
Ruby comes back up the counter, quickly pointing the knife at the ward.
I don't know what you're mumbling about there, but another thing is, I'm years younger than you.
Jesus Christ! All right. Nobody ever claimed you weren't.
You do, all the time.
All right, there's no need for violence.
Ruby realises he's pointing the knife at the ward.
Sorry, didn't mean to. With the knife. But anyway, that's all. You're nearer my father's age than mine.
Right, okay, yeah, I suppose I am. But it's a well-known fact for man and beast that once you reach the age of 50, every day a part of your body dies off.
So I'm standing here, dying.
Well, I wouldn't put it so harsh, but, well, you are. And true as God, you're after giving the ward an awful fright there. By the way you're waving that knife around. An awful fright.
Right. Sorry. Would a free pint calm you down, do you think?
God, now you say it. Now that you mention it, that might be the very thing. The very thing.
Right. Coming up.
And maybe an old chaser there too, just to help the war's nerves after that terrible, terrible fright you gave me.
Don't push it.
Men our age, I mean, my age.
I said don't push it. Where were you?
I was just emptying the...
Well, you took your time wherever you were.
Ruby!
Oh, sorry, Grania. I've an awful headache. And no, before you start fussing, it's not my blood pressure. I've a headache. And I need to get out of here for a while, that's all.
Bit of fresh air, that's what Ruby needs. Yep, that's it. That's it entirely. Some air, fresh and crisp like the old iceberg lettuce. Mind you, I wouldn't touch it if you paid me. Rabbit food, some would say, and I am inclined to agree.
Ruby comes back with his coat and walks across the stage and walks off the other side without looking at either of them or saying a word.
Christ almighty, what was all that about? A person could very easily be tempted to take his custom elsewhere, so he could. Do you think he's going the way of the old da?
No, I don't.
Well, there's something seriously amiss. He's after going at me with a knife.
He what?
Yeah. Started roaring and shouting at me and waving a knife around.
He did not.
The ward is no a liar, I'll have you know.
Yeah, I know. I mean, I'm not saying. What did you say to him?
Nothing. Not a thing. Going queer, sure, that's what's happening. Sure, I knew it was only a matter of time. You can kind of see it in him, in the eyes. Runs in the family, that class of a thing. Sure, I was only saying that to him before Sil died.
Will you be quiet, Ward? He's not going senile.
God, do you remember the father towards the end? He got a fierce eye for the women. Got himself into trouble for groping that young American one. Big up, the Yanks don't take easy to the groping at all. The Americans don't go in for queer manoeuvres. Ron, you'd want to watch yourself. Ron,
Would you ever go back to reading the paper like a good man?
No, granted. It wasn't good. Sil was always a gentleman. A gentleman and a scholar. But it's a cruel world.
It can be cruel, but it's good too. Sure, sometimes it's even wonderful, you know.
I don't know what you have to be so happy about. And you a widow woman.
Will you stop with all the widow woman rubbish? I can't let that define my life completely. You have to keep going.
You do?
Sure, what's the point otherwise? You have to keep going.
I suppose you do, even if your husband is 6 feet under. Oh, pardon. Pardon the word. He's not 6 feet under, is he? I forgot. No. His ashes are tossed over Forlorn Point like the gritty leavings of one of them disposable barbecues.
Grania goes still. She turns and leaves.
Aye. Queer manoeuvres, all right.
Lights go down. Scene 3. Forlorn Point. Ruby comes in looking depressed, defeated, sits for a few beats, puts his head in his hands, sobs for a short moment, looks up, rubs his eyes roughly, takes a box from his pocket with an engagement ring in it, opens it, looks at it.
What kind of an idiot am I? I've been fooling myself. It'll never work. I'm old enough to be her father. They'll all have a right laugh at us. It was going to be hard enough to face what they would all be saying behind our backs, but this? Lately I feel things slipping away from me. Like a fog comes down and I'm asleep, but I'm not, I'm awake. Or more like I'm awake, but I seem to have been asleep. I'm losing my grip on things. Losing track of time. I wondered if I was afraid I was going the same way as my father. I'm afraid. I went to the doctor, got some tests done. I've had a few little strokes, they think. I need some more tests. They're affecting my brain, making me forgetful, stupid. I can't do this to her. To the children, I just can't. I can't saddle her with this, of all things. I can't do it. I have to let her go. The light of my life, Stephen. The light of my life. I can't bring her into this darkness. My darkness. She made me forget it for a while. Made me believe for a while that I deserved something better. Do I have a choice here, Stephen? Do I have any kind of choice?
Ruby sits for a few moments. Scene 4, the pub. Lights up. The ward is gone. Grania stands behind the bar. Ruby comes in.
Where have you been?
I don't know. Walking, the borough, the quay. Ended up at Forlorn Point.
God almighty, it's no day to be hanging around there.
Well, if that's not the pot calling the kettle black. Pretty forlorn there today, all right. Although, of course, it's not called Forlorn Point because it's forlorn. It's Yola for foreland, the furthest land in the parish.
I know that, Ruby. I'm pretty sure I told you that.
Did you?
Yes.
Right. Yes, maybe. Now that you say it. Thought I'd looked it up myself in the library, though.
It doesn't really matter, does it?
No. I have to talk to you. I can't do it, Grania. We can't be together.
What are you on about?
It won't work. It's not on.
I don't... What?
We're better off ending it here now, before things go any further.
Grania comes round and kneels in front of him.
What are you saying? Why are you saying this?
I'm too old for you. You need a young man who...
I can decide for myself what I need, Ruby.
No. It's no use. It was nice while it lasted. More than nice, but it's not what I want.
I'm sorry. I know I mentioned having a baby. Is that what's worrying you? I was only saying it, but I thought when you said that you might like, but we don't have to. Of course we don't have to. Don't mind me. I was only thinking aloud.
It's not about having a child, or not entirely.
Is it about Eileen? What happened to Eileen wasn't your fault. It was terrible, and I know it's not something that can be got over easily, but it was a long time ago, Ruby. I know you carry around a lot of guilt over it, but you can let yourself be happy.
Christ, will you just listen to me? It's not about any of that. There's no point codding ourselves, is there? I'm too old for you. I'm too old. I'm old enough to be your father. A couple of more years.
I could die tomorrow.
Don't say that.
Why not? I could. There's no guarantees. You listen to me for once. I know what I'm talking about. I know. I watched a beautiful young man, funny, strong, handsome, full of life. I watched him fade and die in front of me.
I know.
34. That's all he was.
I know, but...
You can't live your life expecting the worst. Who would have thought Stephen would go the way he did? Who could have predicted that?
That was a different situation entirely.
Grab your chances while you can, Ruby. That's what it's about. Not worrying about what might be or could have been. Can we not just love each other?
It's not only that.
Then what? Are you sick?
I can't face it. I don't love you enough to face it.
Face what?
Face people, Grania. Face what people are going to say.
I don't believe that. Are you sick?
No, I can't face the gossip.
Oh, you're better than that, Ruby. You're better than that.
No, I'm not. I'm really not. I'm not brave. I'm not like you.
Brave? What are you talking about?
My mind's made up, I'm sorry. I suppose I was flattered at first. But it's over now. Whatever it was, it's finished.
I don't understand. I can't figure. Is this a joke or something?
No, I'm deadly serious.
Deadly serious. You are. You are serious.
Isn't that what I'm saying? You can keep the job, of course. You can keep working.
Damn right I can. Damn right I can keep working here.
Grania walks out. Ruby sits at the table, takes out the ring box up from his pocket, opens it, looks at it for a few moments.
The light of my life. The light of my life.
Lights down. Scene 5, the pub. A few weeks later.
Quietest bank holiday we ever had.
Yeah.
Sure, them sergeants were fierce. Though I'd say Ruby made a few bob here all the same. Enough to keep him going till Christmas.
We did all right.
No more than all right, I'd say. Ruby plays his cards close to his chest.
I do not. We did all right.
What's wrong with her?
What do you mean?
Sour pussing her all the time. I don't know, there was always a bit of a glow about her, but I don't know. Seems to be lacking these days. Not good for business having to look at that.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Maybe she's pining for something.
Grania, I have to go.
Okay.
You'll be all right?
Yes. Why wouldn't I be?
Ruby leaves. Grania comes back behind the bar.
You okay there?
Grant.
Grania goes down under the counter, cleaning, hearing the clinking of bottles. A man comes in the door, late 30s or early 40s, carrying a rucksack. He sits at the bar, a few chairs away from the ward.
Hello?
Hello?
Sorry, what? Oh, sorry. What can I get you?
A whiskey, please, love.
Stranger looks around him at the place. The ward looks at the stranger.
Think I've seen you before.
Maybe you have, maybe you haven't. I'd say you don't miss much.
Oh, I do not. I do not. That's a fact. Faith, and I see a lot more than people give me credit for.
I'd say you see everything worth seeing.
I do, and that's a fact. Everything that's worth seeing and more than it's not.
Grania returns with the drink. The stranger hands her money. There is a beat between them.
Thanks.
Get the old geezer whatever he fancies. Have one yourself too.
I join you in a whiskey.
Thanks, but I'm fine.
I can see that.
No, I mean, no thanks, but yes. Okay, give me a minute, will you, please?
Grania, flustered, goes to get the drink. The ward studies the stranger.
Are you sure I haven't seen you somewhere before?
I never said you hadn't.
Grania brings back the drink.
Sláinte, Ward.
Christ almighty! Dermot Hughes! Ha! Grania, it's Dermot, Ruby's lad.
Oh, hi. You're welcome back.
Dermot Hughes, at your service, milady.
Blackout. Scene 6. Dermot and Grania working in the bar together. Grania wearing an apron.
And that, Grania, is how I came to eat dog in Bugga Bugga.
I don't believe a word of it. I thought that story was supposed to be about how you lost your shoes in Willy Wonka or somewhere.
Will not what not, you silly girl. Whoever heard of a place called Willy Wonka? Sure, that's the boy who owns the chocolate factory, as you well know. I have a feeling you don't treat my stories with the gravitas they deserve, and, it makes me very sad.
Does it? I don't know what to give you that idea.
Prophet's never recognised in his own land. God, I'd want to watch myself. I'm beginning to sound like the old fella.
He's glad to have you back, you know. He might not say it, but he is. Have you decided how long you're going to stay yet?
Well, that all depends, doesn't it?
Don't be getting silly now.
Oh, I love it when you get all school mistressy.
Grania steps out from behind the bar, starts rubbing down the tables with her back to him.
Never mind. I shouldn't have asked.
Of course you should have. You see, it all depends on the certain person.
Oh, just now stop the nonsense.
Dermot comes out from around the bar. He has a short bar apron with long strings on it in his hand. He throws it over Grania. She shrieks.
Stop it, Dermot!
He pulls the apron strings and, gently making her turn around, takes the steps toward him.
One date. That's all I'm looking for. We'll go to the pictures. I'll buy you chips and a risole on the way home. Okay, to hell with it. I'll even try in a can of Coke. And I'll keep my hands to myself, if that's what you want.
I can't, Dermot.
One day. I know you like me. I know you do. And I like you. I've really fallen for you. I don't bite. Well, not on the first date. And I'm not entirely hideous.
You're not hideous at all, Dermot.
Dermot leans in to kiss Grania. Ruby comes in. The couple pull apart.
The boss is back. How are you doing, boss? Sit down there, boss. Have a cup of tea, boss.
Stop messing about for 5 minutes, will you? How's everything going here?
Dermot goes back round behind the bar.
Super duper. I would go so far as to say, never been better.
Fine, yeah, sure, grand.
Don't mind her, boss. She's been very bold. Huh? Yeah? Cup of tea coming up. You'll never guess what she's been up to. Yeah. Grania's been eating the lemons again. I think you're going to have to let her go.
The lemons?
Yep, boss. I paid 49 cents for 4 lemons up in the supermarket this morning, and she's after eating up every last one of them.
You mean she's literally eating into the profits?
You got it in one, boss. And she swallows them down whole in one go, skin and all. It's like watching one of them snakes swallowing one of a rabbit or something. It would put the heart crossways in you to see her, boss.
It's an addiction. We'll have to get you help, Grania.
Don't worry, I won't be doing it again.
Well, that's a pity. I was only getting used to it. Your cup on tea, Daddy-O. And now I'm off to replace them lemons. Later.
Grania, I know you're annoyed with me.
Annoyed? Yes, you could say I'm annoyed. Annoyance is definitely one of the things I'm feeling.
I only want you to be happy.
Really? Forgive me for finding that a bit hard to believe. Can I just get on with what I'm doing, please? We don't need to talk.
I think we do. I know you don't believe me, but all I want is for you to be happy. I'd rather it not be with Dermot.
Oh, for God's sake.
I'd rather it not be with Dermot, but if you think he can make you happy.
Happy? Dermot? You have some nerve. If I didn't know you better, I think this is some kind of weird game of pass the parcel. I need to leave here. I don't know what I was thinking staying on. What kind of stupid point I've been trying to make.
No, you're deliberately picking me up all wrong. All I'm saying is, if he can make you happy, he won't hear anything about us from me. I want you to do what you need to do to make you happy.
And you know what I want you to do?
No.
I want you, the great Ruby Hughes, to for once stop playing God.
Grania throws down the apron and goes to leave.
Are you sick, Ruby? I'll ask you one last time. If you are...
I'm not sick. I'm sick of you asking me.
Okay. Have it your own way. I'm finished with all this, whatever it is.
Grania turns to leave, turns back.
You've broken my heart, Ruby. And I think the worst part is, I don't even know why.
Lights down. Scene 7, the pub. The ward sitting at the bar, Ruby behind the bar.
I bet you Ruby is wondering how the great date is going, eh?
The what?
Dermot and Grania.
Sorry, I don't follow.
Dermot agus Grania. The big date. Don't tell me Ruby didn't know.
No, I didn't.
Dermot didn't want Ruby to be worrying about him, eh? Oh, I'm sure it's going fine. She's a lovely girl. Pity she left. You'd miss her around the place. Lovely girl entirely.
She is.
The couple of children hanging out of her would put a lot off, though, wouldn't they?
Not anyone worth anything.
You think? Is Ruby all right tonight?
I'm fine.
Ruby seems a bit off all of a sudden if you ask the ward.
Bit of a headache.
You're getting to be a bit of a martyr for the headaches, huh?
Am I?
You are. You've more headaches than a married woman these days.
All I know is I have one at the minute.
Ruby walks away from the bar and his back to the ward starts picking up glasses on the table.
Yeah, they'll make a grand couple now, don't you think?
Yes, I'm sure. Lovely.
The ward could tell she was soft on him. The minute he walked through that door that first day, she was all eyes. Like a bitch in heat.
There's no need to put it like that.
No, I suppose not. Bit crude, granted. Still, the ward reckons we'll all be getting a day out soon.
I'll be back in a minute.
Bringing the glasses with him, he heads off stage. The ward calls after him.
We all know you're back on the fags, by the way. Yeah, you neglected to charge me for those last 2 drinks, but far be it from the water to mind Ruby of such mundane matters. Aye. Where manoeuvres.
The ward makes to get up to help himself to a drink, but sits down quickly as Dermot enters, suddenly, angrily, walks straight behind the bar and pours a whiskey, drinks it down in one.
Dermot's early.
Yep, Dermot sure is.
Dermot pours another drink, downs it, forcibly calms himself.
How was the date?
It wasn't a date. How many times did I tell you? It wasn't a date.
Did you?
Yes, I did. It's just a coffee.
Oh, right. The ward isn't versed in these matters.
A chat over a coffee, that's all. She said she wanted to talk to me.
Not a good talk, though, I take it.
How is this any of your business?
Ah, sure. None of my business. Not one little bit of my business at all. The ward is merely making conversation.
Well, you needn't bother on my account.
No, sure I won't then. I'll say no more. Not a good chat, though, I take it. She wasn't, how would the ward put it, amenable.
No, leave it alone now.
Ah, yeah, probably for the best. There's plenty more fish in the sea. And you agreed to give it a go, considering.
Considering what? The kids?
No, not the kids. Sure, the kids are grand youngsters. No, I wouldn't have been able to get it out of me head anyway if I were you know. I mean, I don't think there's a law against it or anything, but I don't know. It doesn't seem right.
What are you on about now?
You know, going out with a woman that, well, has been with your dad and all.
Dermot goes very still.
Your dad and going you. Asses they were. For months. You'd think her dad have more sense. Old fella like him. Still, there's no fool like an old fool.
You're a liar.
Faith, I most certainly am not. They thought nobody knew, thought it was this big secret. Still, the ward is surprised. The odds were that she'd switch to the younger model when she got the chance.
The ward catches the change in Dermot, who appears almost frozen with rage. The ward hops off his bar stool and makes for the door with a surprising speed and agility for someone of his age.
Have to go.
The ward leaves stage left. Ruby comes back in stage right. Ruby is rubbing his arm, flexing and reflexing his fingers.
Dermot, you're back early.
I am.
You okay?
Am I okay?
Yeah, is everything, all right?
What would you think?
I don't know.
You don't know? Must be the first fucking time in your life, so da almighty. Newsflash, the all-seeing, all-knowing Ruby Hughes actually does not know.
What happened? Is Grania okay?
Perfect. Oh, she's perfectly fine. Things just didn't, I don't know, click.
But sure, maybe it's for...
The best, yeah, I think you're right, considering. Back on form now, da. I think you're right there as usual, daddy-o.
Silence for a few beats. Ruby sits down in one of the chairs at the table, facing the audience, rubs his arm.
Dermot, I don't feel too good.
Oh, that's funny. Me neither.
Dermot pours another drink and goes over to sit with Ruby.
But it's not all about you, daddy-o. Grania turned out to be a bit of a bore. Do you not want to know what she was going on about? On and on about.
Not really. Look, I think I need...
She was telling me about this old fella that took a fancy to her. She couldn't stand him, but he had a good business and she thought she was onto a good thing for herself and those kids of hers. Are you all right there, Dad? You've gone all quiet. Can I get you a drink?
No, thanks.
Okay, I might get one myself. I mean, if you don't mind. You are the landlord of this establishment, after all. You are the lord of this domain. We all need your permission to do anything in here, don't we?
Dermot, bring me over the phone, will you? Please. I don't feel too good.
Dermot picks up Ruby's phone from the bar behind Ruby and puts it back down.
Can't see it, Daddy-o. I think you're mistaken. Hard to believe, I know, but I think you are.
Dermot grabs the whiskey bottle. Ruby goes to stand, but Dermot puts his hand on Ruby's shoulder and forces him to sit down. Dermot sits down, pours a drink.
Jesus, Dad, rude. I'm in the middle of a story here. Do you not want to hear my story?
Not really.
Where was I? Oh, yeah, Grania and the old fella. Well, in the end, she couldn't go through with it. He was just too old and disgusting. You'd think he'd have more sense. He was old enough to be her father.
Ruby makes to stand. Dermot hops up.
Hold on.
He pushes Ruby back down and sits on Ruby's lap. Ruby struggles, but Dermot is too strong.
Christ, Dermot!
Ah, this is lovely, don't you think? Just like the old days. Me sitting on your lap, your blue-eyed boy.
He smooths down Ruby's hair and kisses him on the top of his head.
All we need to complete the picture now is Mammy staring vacantly into the fire off her head on happy pills. Isn't that right? Ah, yeah. It was cosy. The good old days. I loved playing with that fire. It was my favourite toy. But where was I? Oh, yeah. Grania. I wonder who he was. Do you know who he was, Daddy?
Dermot, please. I can't breathe.
Oh, I am a bit heavier than I used to be, granted. And you're upset, pet. I know it's hard to hear, but like you said, it's all for the best. When she told me who it was, oh, we laughed and laughed.
I'm not upset. Get off me, Dermot. Grania never said any of that stuff. She doesn't have it in her to be that unkind. To be unkind.
Ah, you're wrong there. But I'm the one that's kind. I know I may seem cruel, but I'm only being cruel to be kind. You need to know the truth. She was only using you.
Get off me.
It's nice sitting here, looking back on the good old days. I love that fire. It was all your fault, really. You bought me that fire truck. I used to play with it all the time beside the fire. Mammy was a pretty poor mammy now, wasn't she, really? You know that, so let's stop pretending. She just didn't remember things like other mammies did. Birthdays, schools, meal times. Never put up the fire guard. Oh no, but that's wrong, Daddy. It was you who used to light the fire in the morning. Mammy wouldn't have done it. Sure, she stayed in bed half the day anyway. You used to put up the fire guard. I used to take it down. I suppose that was a bit bold.
Ruby's speech is going muffled.
Dermot, please.
Dermot stands up. Ruby is slumped in the chair.
I don't know what you're saying, Daddy. I think I was starved for attention, do you know that? Always staring past me, away over my shoulder she was. I started lighting little sticks at the fire, waving them around. And guess what? You're ignoring me now. I can't win. I thought we could all be happy. I liked Grania. I really did, but you ruined it. You ruined that just the way you ruined everything else.
Please, Dermot. I can't see.
Dermot begins to walk around, clearing up the bottles and glasses.
Where was I? Oh yeah, Mammy. Well, she just kept staring over my shoulder, away with the fairies in the land of the happy pill. Only ever perked up when Daddy came home. So, I don't know. I set her dress on fire. Thought that'd wake her up. I just tipped the hem of her dress ever so lightly with one of my little sticks. Just a teeny tiny touch, that was all. I thought that'd get her attention.
Dermot goes over, locks the front door, comes back.
I only wanted her to see me, you know. To look at me for once, but then she was gone and I was left with you, and it was like you couldn't see me either. You and Grandad, thick as thieves in your own little world, and I was always the third wheel.
I'm so sorry, Dermot. Please ring them.
Anyway, I think that's about it for now. It did me good to get all that off my chest. Right, I think everything is shipshape and Bristol fashion, so it's off to bed for me.
Dermot goes over and kisses Ruby on the forehead.
Oh dear, And now you're crying. What's all that about? Big boys don't cry. Anyway, night, night, sleep tight and don't let the bed bugs bite. You used to say that to me every night. It tickled me pink. I miss that.
Lights down. Just enough light to see Ruby try to get up. He collapses on the floor. Scene 8, the pub. Grania behind the bar, the ward sitting on a bar stool.
Terrible about Ruby. The ward can't believe it. Although he was back on the fags, and he did have a class of a high colour lately. Always a bad sign. The high colour.
It's terrible. I can't believe it. I never noticed a thing.
Sure, it's not like Grania was around to notice.
No, I suppose I wasn't.
No, we hadn't seen Grania in weeks. If Dermot had realised that Ruby was going to have a stroke itself, it could have made the world of difference. Time is of the essence where the stroke is concerned.
Enter Dermot.
How is he?
He's grand. He'll be well looked after up there.
Yeah, I suppose.
Dermot moves in behind the bar.
He'd be right as rain up there in the nursing home. Sure, they know him well from going in and out visiting the old dad.
He might improve with proper care, physio and the like. He might get back home yet.
Faith, stranger things have happened. You never know. Your optimism does you credit, Grania. Right, I'll give him the ward's warmest regards when you see him.
I will.
The ward leaves. Dermot puts his arm around Grania.
The outlook, well, it might be best to accept it at this stage, Grania. It's not encouraging. I blame myself. If only I'd found him earlier.
Oh, Dermot, don't do that to yourself. You couldn't have known.
Why did I not stay to help him lock up that night of all nights? I often did. Often lately, we'd have an old chat and a drink when everything was done. Well, I'd have a drink and he'd have...
Decaf tea.
Yeah, that's right.
Don't torment yourself. I'm glad you had some good time with him.
I did. Some nights, we'd sit and chat for hours. We caught up on a lot of things, Grania. Talked about the old times.
Oh, I'm so glad to hear that.
That night, I don't know. I was a bit upset about our conversation earlier.
I'm sorry, Dermot. I really didn't mean...
God, no. I'm not blaming you at all. It wasn't your fault at all. I suppose all it was when you said you couldn't feel anything for me.
I'm so sorry.
No. God, don't feel bad. But I suppose I wasn't much in the mood for talk that night. I just headed up and left Dad to it. He was fine when I left him. I never thought any more of it. Who would have thought? You know?
I know. And why would you? None of us knew, could have known. I'd give anything to have known.
Me too.
Well, I'd better head off now you're back. I'll head up to the nursing home to see him this evening if that's okay. Mum will mind
Actually, they asked me that nobody go visit him for a few days, give him some time to settle in.
Really? Oh, I suppose you can see their point in a way.
Yeah, it sort of makes sense.
Well, okay then. If you're stuck for anyone to mind the place here, sure, let me know.
I will, thanks, but I'll probably manage from here. Joe's free to do more hours. You've been a great help though, a great employee, even if technically speaking, but you aren't working here anymore.
Yeah, well, I suppose the least I could do.
Oh, Grania, I meant to ask you. This is a bit delicate, but, well, that gave me the impression that he may have been involved with someone recently. Some woman. You didn't hear anything like that?
No.
Probably doesn't matter. He got involved, but this woman, it seems she got in too deep, too quickly, got way too needy. The dad had to end it. We'll probably never know who it was. He played his cards close to his chest, did the old man. And sure, if she hasn't crawled out of the woodwork by now, she probably never will. Now, well, sure, you'd better get on. I'm sure you have to collect the children. Just pull the door behind you on the way out.
Dermot walks off stage, leaving Grania behind. Lights down. Scene 9. The nursing home. Lights up on the side of the stage. 2 armchairs. Ruby asleep, sitting in one chair. The other is on his left. Enter Grania. She sits in the other chair, observes Ruby for a few moments, and speaks softly.
Ruby? Ruby?
Ruby wakes and sits up straighter. He is little better than he first appeared. His speech is halting. He has been compromised by the stroke.
Grania? Is it really you?
Yes, Ruby. It's me.
Ruby puts out one hand. Grania takes it. Ruby closes his eyes again.
Very tired, Grania. You're a sight for sore eyes.
Am I?
You are.
Ruby closes his eyes again. They keep holding hands.
I didn't know whether to come or not. Dermot kept telling me not to, that you didn't want... Ruby, are you okay?
I'm okay. Better. Right arm bad. Right eye a bit... You're a sight for sore eyes.
Grania, overcome with emotion, lifts his hand to her lips and kisses it.
I'm very glad I came then.
Me too.
Good. I wasn't sure you'd want me to.
But
Yes?
don't come again. Don't come.
Don't come.
Dermot. Keep away from him.
Keep away from Dermot.
Please. And me.
No.
And me. Keep away, light of my life.
Scene 10. Forlorn Point. Enter Grania. Sound of a wild wind. Grania sits down on a rock, head in hands for a few moments, then looks up. There is a sound near Grania. She stands in alarm. Dermot comes around from the rocks, acts surprised but smiles menacingly. Grania's demeanour changes and she subtly faces up to him. Scene 11. The pub. The ward sitting on his stool at the bar, Dermot behind the bar. He has plasters around the knuckles of one hand.
The ward can still hardly believe it. Well, it beggars belief.
I know. It's just terrible.
She was very cut up about your dad. She blamed herself.
It was an accident, Ward. Pure and simple. Don't you go around starting any rumours now, do you hear me?
I don't know. Ward would like nothing better than to believe you're right. But the fact of the matter is, as the story goes, that she went a bit doolally when the husband died. That was all kept very hush-hush at the time, but...
There's not much gets past you.
No faith, and that's a fact.
I'm sure it was an accident.
You're just trying to see the best of it. Seeing as Dermot had a soft spot for her, but there was another side to her. The ward seen it here often. There were times you couldn't get a word out of Grania. She'd be off in another world.
I didn't know that.
Sure, how could Dermot know that? And then there was all that time she spent at Forlorn Point. People often seen her up there and she talking to the dead husband. A lovely woman, a grand woman, but something lacking in short, soft in the head.
An accident, Ward. She slipped on the rocks.
And what was she doing out there in a day like that, if you follow my train of thought?
An accident, Ward.
Yes. Yes, perhaps that is the best path to follow. Perhaps the ward will take a leaf out of Dermot's book. That'll probably be for the best.
I think so.
Now, there's no point in upsetting Ruby with further speculation. None at all.
No.
There was a good turnout for the funeral.
People loved Grania. I didn't realise how much people loved her. I didn't realise, but I wasn't surprised.
They did, that's true. They did.
She was too good for this world.
She was a lovely person true enough and had it hard in a short life.
Huh.
How was Ruby?
He's doing great. Much better than expected.
He's as happy as Larry up there in the nursing home then, by all accounts.
Well, he's doing pretty well physically, but mentally...
Going the way of the old dad. No, you don't need to answer. It's plain for all to see here the last few months. Crying shame. I'll tell you another thing. I could always tell Ruby had the graw for growing you. But sure, she strung him along and then left him high and dry in the end. Sure, she wasn't right in the head, Lord have mercy on her. And there's no fool like an old fool. The ward seen here all plain as day. That was the start of it, if you ask me. He went downhill from there.
There's not much gets past you, is there?
No, a person would have to get up very early to fool the ward.
They would indeed. They'd have to be up at the crack of dawn. Still, do me a favour, Ward. Keep all that to yourself now, will ya? I'd hate for that to, get around.
Oh, my lips are sealed. The ward may be a lot of things, Dermot, but a gossip I am not.
Ah, yes, sure I know that. Here, have another whiskey.
It would be churlish of the ward to refuse. Well, the ward is moved to make a toast to the new owners, Dermot, and your further adventures.
Thanks, Ward. In the words of the old song, my bags are packed and I'm ready to go.
Scene 12. Forlorn Point. Ruby crawls over the rocks. Broken and bloody from crawling and falling, he sits panting at the edge, phone around his neck on a lanyard, closes his eyes, texts on the phone, pulls the phone off his neck and puts it beside him, closes his eyes, sound of the wind and rain for a few beats. He speaks haltingly.
I'm sorry, Grania. I'm so sorry. I always tried to do the right thing, but all I ever did was get it wrong. I loved you, but I did nothing to protect you. I even thought for a brief moment that you might be the one to save him, but instead he destroyed you. You who were everything that was good and brave and beautiful. I knew in my heart that Dermot was dangerous. I knew the destruction he was capable of. Oh, I could say that I suspected, but that'd be a lie. I knew. I always knew. I knew, but I denied it. It was there in the silence of my father, in the way he wouldn't look me in the eye after Eileen died. It was there when I looked into Dermot's eyes. There was something dark there, something lost and lonely and terrible. I was afraid to look at it. I was a coward. I pretended not to see it, and that is my fault. But he is my son, Grania. My son, and God forgive me, but I love him too. Forgive me, Grania. Forgive me for all I did and all I didn't do.
Ruby rolls off the rocks into the sea. Silence for a few beats. Sound of the waves and the wind howling. And then very faint within the wind.
Ruby, Ruby.
Lights down. End of play.